Hi, welcome back to Anything is Possible. My name is Tamara and I live at Lake Chapala in Jalisco, Mexico. Today I am going to answer a few questions. I get asked a lot by my friends back home in the United States if I ever regret having moved here or if I'm coming back. My first question is I don't quite understand why they bother asking. I mean, I've been here well over a year. I post a lot on Facebook about my life here and the beauty of this area and how happy I am. And while they are still living back there in incredible three-digit temperatures and wildfires and smoke, and I'm not quite sure why they would think that I would want to move back, but I guess, maybe they do think that I just eventually will come to my senses and decide that, Mexico is not for me. Maybe some people actually miss me and would like me to move back and be part of the community that I was in before, one of the many communities I was in before, because I actually moved a lot. And a lot of people, they thought I was a little crazy, I think, to move here. They still buy into what the media says, that Mexico is really dangerous. And I realize that this particular area is kind of a real sheltered little area. There is not a high crime rate. Most of it's very petty. Sometimes getting pickpockets and that sort of thing. But, there's not really, I feel no danger here at all. So Mexico is just not scary to me at all. A lot of people that I know, they have either lived in the same place their whole life. Maybe they've traveled some, but they just really cannot fathom leaving what is familiar and comfortable to them. And to me, I'm just a different kind of person. I really seek change. I seek adventure. I seek novelty. And so that is part of the reason why I'm, moved here. I think, first off, I have to say that there are times when I feel some nostalgia, for the places that I've lived. And I've lived a lot of places. I grew up in Southern California, in Whittier, California. I actually had begged my parents to move from Whittier because it was so smoggy there when I was growing up. I mean, there were days when I would go to school and my lungs would just burn, and there were days when they would not allow us children to play because of, there was no recess time because the air quality was so bad. And I would beg my parents to just move someplace where the air is cleaner, so I can grow up in an area that has, natural beauty and not this metropolis that we lived in. And my dad had his own business, and so that wasn't really a possibility. He really had put a lot into building his business up. And so, I always have been had some wanderlust, and when things weren't right, I felt like, well, it's time to just change. So I have lived in Daytona Beach area in Florida. In addition, I went to school in San Jose, California. I lived in Oregon, and I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for a while. I lived on the coast in Oregon, and then I moved inland to southern Oregon in the Grants Pass, Medford area, and before moving here. So all of those places, there is a lot of real natural beauty. I have to say that Southern California and Florida, I have no nostalgia at all about ever going back to. They weren't places that I enjoyed living at all. But I have to say Oregon is really a beautiful, beautiful place. And even living near San Francisco was a lot of fun. You getting up to the city is always good. I lived there primarily because of work, and there was a lot of jobs there. And I also have just sort of a feeling of, oh my gosh, the seasons here are, you don't get the crisp autumn days, don't get the fall, autumn leaves. Even a couple of days of snow might be kind of fun, bundle up and sit by the fire, go out and, walk through as it's snowing. We don't get that here. So there's part of me that says, maybe there's times a year that I might want to actually travel and go someplace and see the seasons. But I have no desire to live in those places. I really appreciate having wonderful weather, basically 365 days a year here. I have to say that it is really, really a huge thing to move to another country. So I would not encourage anybody to do this lightly. You have to get rid of, a large amount, if not all, of everything that you own. I got rid of some, and I'm glad that I did get rid of a lot of what I did, and there's other things I kind of wish I'd kept, but there's another episode on that. Of course, you have to pack and arrange with the mover to come and get your stuff, and I did have a couple of estimates done to figure out how much it was going to cost to move my stuff. You have to go to a consulate, make an appointment at a Mexican consulate, which these days is getting really, really hard. I had to travel to Portland and spend a night up there. It's a lot of times people go to other states because it's the only way that they can get an appointment to get their visa. Of course, I had to clean up my house, get it ready to sell, put it on the market, go through showing it. And then, of course, closing was just a couple of days before I moved out. So that's a little nerve-wracking. And then, of course, driving. I drove for, I was 10 days on the road. 2 of those I spent visiting my cousins and aunt in Tucson, so that doesn't really count. But I took it easy, driving alone. I drove 4 or 5 hours a day, and it took me, probably considering from Southern Oregon down here, about 8 days of just driving, taking it easy, enjoying the sights, relaxing in the evenings, and not overdoing it. So the main thing is that you have to have just this immense mental determination that this is what you want to do, and it gets you through all of that. If you're not absolutely positive in your mind that this is something you want to do, I wouldn't recommend it. There are a lot of people that get down here and they find out that life is hard. Things are not the way they are in the United States. It takes flexibility to be able to learn to live a different way with different customs. The availability of products is limited in a lot of cases, so you can't just go and expect to go buy something someplace because it's just, a lot of stuff just isn't here. And so you can learn to try Mexican products, and a lot of it is learning to improvise. So, Mexicans are very ingenious people, and so, a lot of things are, I was on a gardening site, for instance, and somebody was like, where can I get tomato cages for my tomatoes? And, there just really aren't tomato cages here. So, I suggested, get some bamboo or stick a branch in the ground and train your tomatoes up that. I've always used bamboo and made a little teepee out of bamboo. And then she was like, well, where do I get bamboo? And I'm like, you can ask. You can look around, see where there's bamboo growing, because it grows here. You really kind of have to become much more independent in your thinking and think about, how to do things differently and take some initiative to figure this stuff out on your own. You can't just go to a store and buy this stuff. So I have to say that life here is not at all what I thought it would be. So in terms of people thinking that maybe I have regrets, no, but I have to say that when I came down the first two times before, it was 14 years ago and 12 years ago. And the first time I came with my partner and my dad, and then the next time I came with my partner. So I was always as a couple. And it is really, really different when you come and go to a place and visit it as a couple versus a single person. You do coupley things. You meet other people that are couples and get together with other people and have dinner with other couples. And he was a very outgoing person, and I am not. And so he would get me out and socializing and doing things that I ordinarily would probably not go out and do. And so when I moved down here alone, all of a sudden, the life that I thought I was going to be living, it was like, yeah, I don't really want to do those things all just by myself on my own. So even though there are a lot of other people that I get together with as friends, I do live a much more solitary life. I always have. And so my life here is not what it was when I came to visit those times before. Also, in the 12 plus years since I visited before, this area has changed a whole lot. There are just a massive more number of people living here than there was when I came before. There's a lot of people that come down just for the winter, which in my opinion is not the best time to visit this area. It's dry and winter is cooler. But this rainy season is when, oh man, everything's blooming. The hills are green. The waterfalls are flowing. It is just a beautiful time of year. But there is just a massive amount of traffic in this area. Now that I've lived here well over a year, I have a new life that I never would have imagined. I love this house that I found and I'm renting now. I mean, it's just like an embrace. I walk in and it's so wonderful. It feels so homey to me, and the community here is wonderful, and I'm getting so I can smile to my neighbors and they recognize me now as somebody that lives here. So I have to say, in terms of questions about do I have regrets, I have no regrets. I really have none. I love it here. I love my lifestyle here. I love the food here. I love the people. I love the beauty and the nature and the climate. I really, really love it here, and I have no regrets whatsoever. So, and as far as do I plan on moving back to the U.S., no, I don't. I don't plan on moving back to the U.S. I can't even foresee any reason why I would. The healthcare here is amazing, and I can't fathom why I would move back to the U.S. As time goes on at this area and living here, things become more and more familiar. I know instead it isn't like, the first time you have to go do anything, go pay your bills in person with cash and all that. It's cumbersome at first, and then you just sort of get used to it, and you just schedule it into your life. I find the customs here beautiful right now, where everything is getting ready for their Independence Day. It's September, and their Independence Day is a big deal, and you'll see red, white, and green everywhere. Banners in the cities, all the stores, houses have the Mexican flag out, and it's a very exciting time. Sort of like 4th of July. Everybody gets all decked out and shows their Mexican pride, and it's really wonderful. I am really, really glad I moved. It was something that I hope I never have to do again. I really, I was thinking today, living in this little house, I put a lot into it, and I just feel like, I hope I don't have to move again. I don't know, when you're renting, you never know what the owners are going to decide to do, and I might have to, but I hope I can be here for many, many years and not worry about going through all that packing and finding another place to live again. But I'll figure it out one way or another, but I have to say I really, really love living here. And I don't want to encourage too many people to move down here because it's already getting really crowded. And, they're building Margaritaville. And unfortunately, we lost Jimmy Buffett this last week. But that's already a done deal, and they're going ahead with it. Apparently, nothing is planning on changing with that. So that's going to bring in a whole lot more people, but there's also just constant building of new developments everywhere. So, there's a lot of people moving in. I imagine we're probably going to see water shortages in the future. But I have to say that I totally understand why people move here because it is wonderful. I mean, the climate is just lovely, and it's been, this month especially, has been raining. Kind of a late rainy season here, but anyway. So, I'm not planning on moving back, and I don't regret moving here. So I love it. So that's it for this time. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Share it if you want, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.